I will say this. There's been a huge uproar about Tractor Supply and the feed that you get and maybe stuff being in your feed. And I believe when we was giving them this rice and beans, I started seeing what looked to be nicer eggs and more eggs coming up. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another day out here on the farm. Hey, thank you for joining us today. Today I want to talk about feed, and I want to talk about why it's so important what you're feeding your chickens. We tried something new. A lot of people's been doing this new method of feeding your chickens. So actually in a moment, we're going to go ahead and feed them real quick, and I want to get into showing you guys what we tried this past week. I want to talk to you guys about how we fed our chickens differently, how they've responded to it, do we think it's a great idea, and who it's good for. You know, these different things are really important, and I want to share this valuable information to you guys because I looked at it and it's hard for people to really explain. So when we were looking at it, we didn't know, is this going to work for us with our big flock of birds of 75 or 80? You know, we just didn't know if it would work for us. So I want to share you guys what I think about it. But first, let's go over here. We're going to go feed these chickens. I got some of this leftover feed that we bought, and I want to go ahead and feed these chickens because I don't want it to go bad. Hey, boy. Yeah. Come on. Hey, Henrietta. Hey, girl. Here you go. Here you go. This is Henrietta right here. She's the sweetest hen. She always lets me get close to her. None of these other ones let me. My grandma actually named her Henrietta, and she showed up at her house and stayed for like 2 months. And she would just not. Ah! God, you bit me. All right. You like caught my skin. Whew. All right. So, anyways, hey, Sammy. Gonna run around, Sammy? It's like I don't know. Run, Sammy, run! So anyway, she's sweet. Here we go. Oh.
Come here, Sammy boy.
Where's Sammy? Oh, I'll drop some feed in my foot flop. I'm gonna feed them a lot. They're hungry. And we got a lot to feed them. Here you go, Mr. Turkey.
That's probably good.
We're about to go inside now. I'm gonna take this feed. I wanna show you guys what we're giving our chickens and turkeys, what we think is important, what worked for us, what didn't, and what we think may work for you. And we're gonna show you some footage of them tearing it up and how much they liked it. And if this is a budget-friendly option for you guys to save some money, which I do believe it is, and I'm gonna share why you should do it or shouldn't do it. So what we chose to feed our flock is pinto beans and brown rice. These two things are very important. I've actually read a lot of stuff. Oh, I bit my tongue. I've actually read a lot of stuff on it, a lot of material, a lot of people who's done it. And so we said, well, shoot, is this a cost-effective way to feed our flock? Because we have a really big flock of animals, and even though they free range, they will eat you out of house and home. So what we started doing was we fed them pinto beans and brown rice. Matter of fact, every day we started out, I thought like if I made this huge batch, it would last them a couple days, 3 days. We started feeding them 8 cups of beans and 4 cups of rice, but it would swell up to like 3 times that amount to where it was like 12 cups of rice. And it was like, what's 3 times 24? I mean, 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24?
It's not that
No.
much.
So it would be
It was
like
8 cups of beans, or 12 cups of beans too?
we did 8 cups of beans. So yeah, maybe so. It would probably.
I think it was 12 and 12.
Okay, so the rice will swell up about 3 times the amount. The beans will swell up.
24 cups of feed, yeah.
I would say the beans, I could say 2 times the amount. I mean, the beans swell up pretty big. Like, it was a lot. And so anyways, I mean, it's so heavy. Like, the container we used, you couldn't even hold it in your hand. You had to regularly hold it or it'll break. So, I mean, it was some heavy stuff. But honestly, it didn't even last our chickens and turkeys and guineas a day. And so it was pretty bad. And I mean, they enjoyed it so much they would run us down all the time. I want to show you guys what it looked like us preparing it and cooking it throughout the week and our response to our chickens and turkeys. And I want to actually also share what I think about it, because does this work or does it not work? And will you save money and will you not? I want to give you the cost breakdown that we found doing this, and if it's worth doing or not, and with your size of flock. We'll share what I think it would work for and what I think it wouldn't. So come along, look at what we did this week, how it went for us, and our results with it and what we thought. And maybe this will help you guys out on your farm and homestead and know how to feed your flock. One of the things right here we're wanting to start feeding our chickens is pinto beans, and we want to do brown rice. But it's so important that, look, you got these beans here, right? They're raw right now and they're hard and crunchy or whatever. Well, they're harmful to humans, but they're deathly to chickens. If a chicken, I thought they could eat like 2 beans and it could kill them. Like raw beans. So it's got a lot of nutrients in it and protein and all that good stuff that a chicken needs. If you haven't soaked it and cooked it and then they eat it, it could make them sick and your chicken could die. But if you do soak your beans like you're supposed to, like it says on the bag, you get all the bad stuff that comes out of it, you drain that water off and you cook it, well then they can eat these beans. And it's good for their health. It'll help them. And so we're actually testing this out because a lot of people have done this. And I wanted to see how good is it really for our chickens. Will I save money on it versus the feed that I'm currently buying? Or is it going to cost more? That's what I want to know. I want to know if it's going to fill up my chickens too, because feeding 70 birds, it gets expensive. Look at this hack I saw the other day. I actually just remembered it as I get ready to strain. You just put the strainer on it, then you lift it, and you pour it out. And then you ain't gotta worry about no beans going nowhere. And then it's strained out, and it's still in your pot. Why'd y'all look at it? I'm just gonna take it like this. But I don't like this pot, I like to cut your fingers.
Mama's had that thing for a long time.
Look at that. Oh my gosh. Let's do it. Look at that, it's crazy. All right, so I got these beans. Right now, I had let them boil for like 2 minutes, or whatever it called for. I think it was 2 minutes. Now I'm letting them sit for an hour. The brown rice, what I'm doing here is I do everything friggin' backwards. So what happened was I should have boiled the water, 8 cups of water to 4 cups of rice, but I had put the rice in first. So I should have done it with boiling the water first. I'm a man. I don't know if there's an excuse for that, but anyways, I'm heating up some more water now so I don't stop the boil. But I'm fixing to let it simmer. So this water is actually pretty hot. And me and hot water don't do so well, okay? I had an accident a while ago. So what happened was I was stirring and I was using this little spoon right here. And as I stirred, my finger dipped in the hot water and I jumped back with the spoon. It slung on my belly, and then on my belly, it slung again onto my foot. And so my foot's burning, and I had a sock on. And I'm like, why is my foot burning? I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyhow, I ripped my sock off, and my foot and my belly hurts now, my stomach, because it stinking slung on me. Slung beans everywhere, had a big mess. Katie come in, what the heck are you doing? And yep, I slung it all on me. So anyways, that's what happened. So now I'm about to let this thing simmer. I just turned it down to simmer. I'm going to let this simmer for 4 to 5 minutes. And I'm just going to let it soak up all this good water. And we're going to have some happy chickens in the morning. And I'm going to let y'all know about the math I did. And this is why I am believing it is cheaper to feed your chickens pinto beans and brown rice versus doing regular store-bought feed. Literally, I bought 60 pounds of this, 60 of this, right? Well, on the bag it says the rice will swell up to 3 cups. 1 cup of brown rice will swell up to 3 cups. So 60 pounds is really going to end up being like close to 180. And then this, it pretty much swells up that much too. So it's like, that's like 180. So I'm buying 120 pounds worth, which is $80 and something. I'm going to give you all the math in a little bit, of feed for 360 pounds of this stuff versus me buying the other feed in the store. I think it's going to be cheaper and I'm going to have happier chickens. All right, so right here we got, this thing's been cooking for an hour and a half. A little bit longer. It took me a little while to get it to warm up because I used cold water to start the boil. Anyways, look at what I got right here. Look at that. Beans and rice. You know what they say about beans? Beans, beans. The musical fruit. The more you eat them, the more you toot. Toot, toot. The better you feel. Let's have beans for the next meal. Anyways, so we got these done here. Dude, this thing is heavy. So if you're wondering what I did right here, what I did was I did 8 cups rice, 8 cups beans, and then I even poured some of that bean juice that's been cooking so good with all the nutrients. Poured it right up in there. Dude, this thing is heavy. I'm gonna let it cool off. It's gonna soak up, but Katie's gonna give this to the turkeys, chickens, and guineas tomorrow. Oh my gosh, they're gonna tear it up. I don't even think they're gonna be hungry after this. Like, this is a lot, and it's heavy. And we don't know how much to feed them to keep them from getting hungry when we use it this way. But right now I got 16 cups worth of beans and rice. So if this works, I will kind of know how much I need to feed them every day. I'm going to have another day's worth probably left over, day or 2 days worth left over. And so I'm trying to work this out so I can cook it ahead of time and know what we got for the whole week for the chickens. And hey, if I cook this and they enjoy it and they give me little butt nuggets, that's great. I'll be happy. They give me some golden nuggets, some good food, and then let's go. I'm tired. It's late. Over here editing my next video for you guys and cooking beans and rice. I mean, the place smells like a restaurant. It's crazy. What am I doing with my life? Well, let me see how they like this beans and rice. Sick. Y'all stop it. They're already excited. You hear how loud these turkeys are? Whoa, he got covered. They're quiet now. Whoa. Look at Bobby got some spurs on him, man. Look at those spurs, dude. Dang, you see the spurs? Bobby, you bad. Well, one thing that we found when feeding these chickens the red beans and rice, the problem is it takes a lot of time to prepare it all. It's not bad. Matter of fact, over the past week we've been doing this, and I think I've become more of a professional at it. But the thing is this, is that when feeding them, we have like 65 chickens, 5 turkeys, 3 of them are Jakes, and then we got 5 guinea fowl. We have a huge flock. So when it comes to preparing this, I don't have a big enough container. I don't have enough counter space, fridge space, freezer space, if I was to prep all this food ahead of time. So honestly, it's really going to be what's beneficial to you, what works for you. Do I think feeding them red beans and rice is great? I believe so. It's been good. We just can't feed them enough of it for them to be fully satisfied versus us just pouring a 50-pound bag out and they eating that feed we buy. And I have noticed an uptick in some eggs. I've noticed, I mean, obviously they love it. And they seem healthy. They seem like they really enjoy it. But the problem is they're like starving all the time. Like they've ate this good red beans and rice and they're like, we want more of it. Like, we need more of this food. That's one thing I've learned. Feeding our chickens red beans and rice, it doesn't work for us, unfortunately. Probably going to actually go back to the feed after we finish up this batch. I bought a bunch of it, and I mean, really looking at it, it looks like we haven't even scratched the surface, but the problem is just this so much, and trying to prepare it on our stove, and the time it takes, doing it for 70 chickens, it's taking forever, you know? Like, if we had maybe a propane, heating element, that we put a huge crab boil pot on or something. We made the rice and the beans. I could see it being more beneficial. But honestly, with just having this a stove right here, it's not working for us heating it up that way. We end up with a huge batch, and I mean it's heavy. It's a lot of food, but it's only like a day's worth. And honestly, I bet I could feed them twice as that much. So how much I'm feeding these 70 chickens is I'm doing 8 cups of beans and I'm doing 4 cups of rice. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but man, so if you can take that and you can imagine it swells up. 2 cups of beans is a pound of beans. So we're doing 4 pounds of beans. But man, it swells up 3 times that. So it's probably like 12 pounds of beans, and then you got the rice that swells up. So we're feeding them that every day, and it's like we're not even scratching the surface. So that's one thing why it's not really working for us doing the beans and rice. As you can see right here, we've been feeding them these beans, and we've done this 3-4 times this week. 8 cups. I use about 8 cups every time. And dude, this 20-pound bag? This 20-pound bag of beans, I mean, there's still a lot left. Like we may have just hit the back of the half of the bag. So there's a ton left from us cooking them. Now this rice here, we got about a quarter of a bag left. And this was a 10-pound bag of it. Man, there's still so much that we can cook for these animals, and they're loving it. So if you got a smaller flock, I would say definitely go for it. Go for, giving it to your flock, because I believe it's helped them. All of our poultry is free ranging, but man, it's like feeding them this regular feed from the store. I feel like sometimes, man, it's just not cutting up to it for them, And this is already moist, and so I think it digests good for them. It's got good protein, fiber, nutrients. And we're doing pinto beans, and we're doing brown rice. You don't want to do white rice because it's been bleached and all the good stuff's taken out, but this brown rice, it's got a lot of good stuff in it. And I was reading, and it's so true. Pretty much the chickens, as they eat it, it's almost like they're thinking it's like maggots, and they just love eating that stuff up. So they love it. The problem we found out here is that the chickens will literally like want to tackle you out here for this food. And we're like, we just gave you like 20 pounds of this food. But they still they want more and they want more. So they've actually been more up in our face since we've been feeding them. And I thought it would swell up and they'd get full. But man, they've wanted more and more. So that's what hasn't really worked for us. And that's why we really want to go back to the other feed. Dude, that's so pretty. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, look at that rainbow. Look, and then bam. See it on the other side? Be quiet, but I'm going to try to grab a turkey. I haven't picked up the white one yet. He's going to freak out. Oh!
Be careful. He's like,
he said, what?
Go now.
Oh! Oh no, I got one of your good feathers. Crap. Buddy.
Like, I ain't going back over there, boys. You think he's 20 pounds?
Hey, baby boy.
I
Watch out for these feet.
I think he's the biggest one.
He's like, yeah. I hope this really helped you today. I hope this added some value to you. Listen, I think for your size flock, if you got, 15 chickens, I think this could work for you. Us having like 70 to 80, we need a whole lot more to really keep them fed with the amount of protein and what they need. And I feel like the feed we give them, the pellets we give them, has really helped. Just keep that narrowed down. But when we give them this red beans and rice, or this pinto beans and rice, it's just not really carrying them as far as we want to. Now, I will say this. There's been a huge uproar about Tractor Supply and the feed that you get, and maybe stuff being in your feed. And I believe when we was giving them this rice and beans, I started seeing what looked to be nicer eggs and more eggs coming up. Huh?
And what, just like 4 days?
Yeah, and we were doing it in just like 4 days, I'm like, that's a quick turnaround. And yes, your chickens can turn around that quick. When they're laying, it shows healthy, happy chickens. And so with these beans and rice, they were loving it and they were doing great. Yeah, with it being so hot and stuff, I mean, I think it's really helped out the chickens a lot. They enjoyed it. The thing is, I just don't know if we can cook enough to really keep it pumping out. Because I'm like, that's the thing. It can't be a full-time job just cooking red beans and rice and your house smells like beans and rice. We had friends over and I had a candle going, but I didn't even think about we're cooking beans and rice.
Jessica, did you just fart?
Since they're here and our house smells like beans and rice. It's like, these are things you need to think about before you do it. Do I have a small enough flock that I can cook all these beans and rice and keep them fed and happy? 2, do I feel like cooking these beans and rice? Do I have time for it? Yeah, when you cook beans, okay, give you an idea. These beans have to be soaked either 6 to 8 hours before you even get to cooking them, because you can't give a chicken raw beans. Give it to them and they're going to die. I heard they could eat 2 of them and die. So you can't give them raw beans and then live. So you got to soak your beans overnight, or you could put them on a boil and boil them for 2 minutes. But then they have to sit in that hot water off the heat for like an hour. And then after that, then you have to bring new water after you rinse those beans off back to a boil. And then on top of that, you have to, what else you got to add to it? You got to boil it for an hour and a half or simmer it. So it's like, it's like it's a full planning thing. So it's like, if you want to do that, then go ahead. That's great. I think our chickens loved it. I think they were happy and healthy. And the thing is, how bad's the feed you're getting? Do you need to go to a local feed store and see if you can get some better feed? That could be it too, but honestly, some of the local feed stores, they're getting their feed from the same suppliers poisoning our birds, unfortunately. These are questions you got to ask yourself, and is it worth going full on beans and rice? So that's what we did. We've decided we're going to stick with our feed right now. Matter of fact, I plan on reducing my flock a little bit eventually, and I could see doing this with 20 chickens. I could definitely see handling that, them being happy, the feed's lower, all that good stuff. But right now, feeding them as much as we're feeding them, we can't keep up with the demand of putting out these beans and rice all the time. It's so hard with how busy we are. I really enjoyed you guys enjoying our videos, and it's so much fun. Leave a comment below what you'd like to see out here on the channel. We'd love to talk about it. We just want to add value to you guys through entertainment, family, and just fun and farming. Hey, if you want to see more chickens and turkeys, click this video right here. It's a great video. And don't forget to subscribe up here. We want you guys to stay connected with us. Leave your comments below on what you want to see. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Have a good one. What a sunset. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Just gorgeous.